Hello, and welcome to another edition of Day Drinking with Kevin. I'm your host, Kevin McGuire, and today's episode is entitled Montepulciano versus Montepulciano. The other day, somebody came into the restaurant and said, Kevin, we haven't been able to travel since the pandemic, but right before the pandemic, we went to Italy. I want you to recreate the wines we had as part of our trip. Could you give me a nice Montepulciano? And I began to think, I need to ask some more questions in order to determine what Montepulciano they're talking about. First, we have the Montepulciano, the city, which is located in Tuscany. And then we have Montepulciano, the grape, which is primarily grown in a place called Abruzzi. And they're completely different wines, and I wanted to make sure I gave them the right one to make that evening very special. So, let's get started with Montepulciano versus Montepulciano. First, let's talk about the town of Montepulciano. Montepulciano is a town located in Tuscany, which is a little bit east of Chianti, and it's a wonderful place to visit if you ever get the chance. They have many fine wines there, but two of the ones that they specialize in are called Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Rosso di Montepulciano. Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is their DOCG wine, and it is one of my favorites, especially with food. Here, this is made out of usually 100% Sangiovese, but it can have other grapes in the blend, up to 30%. It is aged for 2 years, and 3 years if it's a Reserva. And it is made out of a grape called Prunello Gentile, which is another way of saying Sangiovese. This wine has black cherries and chocolate and a little bit of smokiness and some minerality, and is a really good wine with food. I would serve it with a wild boar sausage or a slow-cooked ragu and anything with a pecorino cheese. It is a wine that is definitely made for food and is going to be amazing with many popular Italian dishes. It also has a little brother called Rosso di Montepulciano. This is a wine that is usually going to be a blend of up to 30% of grapes other than Sangiovese. Sometimes it's made with younger vines. It's also going to be a little bit more affordable. And here we're talking about flavors that are really more like maraschino cherries and Campari flavored like orange bitters, more strawberry licorice. And it is a wine that is going to be more approachable as a young wine and more friendly when you've got a lot of people over to your house and don't want to spend money on an expensive wine. Both of these wines are incredible, and they are Sangiovese based from the town of Montepulciano. Now, here's a little trick on Italian wine bottles. Sometimes if you see a D apostrophe or you see DI on the label, that usually tells you that the words before the D are the grape name, and the words after the D are where it's from. So, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is Vino Nobile, or noble wine, which in this case you have to know is Sangiovese, from the town of Montepulciano. Whereas our other wine, Montepulciano di Abruzzo, is the grape Montepulciano from the area Abruzzo. And we'll talk more about that wine next. So, our first wine today is Vino Nobile di Montepulciano from the place Tuscany and the grape Sangiovese. Next, let's talk about Montepulciano di Abruzzo. This is a Montepulciano grape from the area Abruzzi on the eastern coast of Italy. And let's face it, this is a great date night wine. It is much more fruit forward with flavors of plum and raspberry and mocha. It's got medium acidity as opposed to that high acidity tart cherry flavor we get from the Montepulciano from Tuscany, and a little bit of graphite, but it's got a softer, rounder mouthfeel, and it's going to go with things like charcuterie and pizza and pasta. And for the price, it's much more economical than those wines from Montepulciano from Tuscany. So again, when somebody comes in and says, I would like a Montepulciano, I need to ask them, are they looking for that Montepulciano from Tuscany, or are they looking from that Montepulciano from Abruzzi? They're both completely different wines, but both delicious to drink. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Montepulciano versus Montepulciano. And if you did enjoy this episode, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for free at Day Drinking with Kevin. And if you have ideas for future episodes, please don't hesitate to email me at daydrinkingwithkevin@gmail.com. And don't forget, every second and fourth Friday of the month, we have our What's in My Glass contest, where you can win a custom-designed Day Drinking with Kevin t-shirt. And on the first and third Fridays of every month, we actually have our how-to videos, where we tackle some of the common problems you might run into during wine service. So until next time, I say, salute.